Hi, and welcome to this B1UP sample. Today we will look at a way you can use SQL Report Tabs in B1 Usability Package in order to get an overview of what an individual business partner have been doing lately and what they will do the next 30 days. So let me jump into Business One, which we have here. And I want to show you the finished solution first, and then I will show you how it's made. So if we go to Business Partner Master Data, you will see that there is one more new tab here called Upcoming and Related Events. And as we scroll through different business partners, this tab will show different data about what things that have happened on this business partner. So some of them have lots of data, others have fewer data, depending on how active that business partner is in your system. Some have none, and if we go to my test Maxitech, there's a ton of different things on here. So we can see all kinds of different things. And in this solution I'm showing you, and will give you the link to as well, we have 59 different things you can get as events. So like invoice due, but also invoice created, blank-in statement, service calls, contracts, all kinds of different things. And as you can see, some of them say overdue, meaning that it is actually something that should have been dealt with, but is not. So for example, this order here, it's an open order and it was set to be delivered on back in April, but it happened. So it's marked as overdue here. You can of course make your own events as well, and I will show you how the SQL is done. But before we look at the SQL itself, let's have a look at the tab itself. And that's made using item placement tool. And I simply just right click and say create new tab, and I've typed SQL report. And when I did that, I ended up here and it went into the tab thingy here, where I needed to choose a SQL report. I chose pixel left here. You can also see this is moving about a bit. That's because of a bug in SAP. They have fixed in the latest versions, so don't take that into account. It is fixed in later versions than I'm running right here. But it's essentially just a tab, and it's on pain level 700, just so it's not any of the other ones. And the SQL itself is just a SQL report like any other. You can see the form type is upcoming and recent events. And that's the reason why this have this name. So if you want to call it something else, we put it in there. Then if we have a look at the column level here, let's make it a bit bigger so we can see everything. So the first column, I'm just getting the event, the name of it. So let's that we can see these side by side. So the first one is just called event. Then there's the date. Then there's the number. Then there's the details, and then there's two hidden columns. And the reason I have that is because I need the primary key and the object type in order to make the multi-target. There's separate e-learning on that, but essentially it's just making it a multi-target where the column 5 object type is the one for the object type and column 6 is the primary key. And for that reason, we can go to different things like incoming payment or credit invoices in the same golden arrow. So if you don't know how that works, F1 and read how it works. So the SQL itself is not, or the setup of it is not that difficult, but there is some SQL of course. And the only dynamic thing that is in here is this, that just takes the card code and then is used as a card code to write this. But all of this else is a very, very long SQL. And this is MS SQL. If you feel that this is interesting and you want it for HANA as well, if there's enough people asking for it in the comment, I will turn it into HANA version as well, but else you can convert it yourself. But Let's go in and see the SQL, and I have it here in Management Studio. And the SQL is here, and you can see it's a very long, right now of this, it's 873 lines of SQL, so lots and lots of SQL. But in order for you to understand it better, I have made a mini version because, as I mentioned, there's 59 different event sources. So I've made one that only have 2 event sources, so we can see both the button and the top of this in order for you to better understand what's going on. So let's go in and see. The first thing we have is the card code. And the card code is just what we go in. Here I have hard coded it so I can get some data. Then I put in a culture. I use this in the format here in order to put in the right format of numbers and dates, where I just put in this is a SQL only feature, but there's similar things in HANA as well. So the main reason I'm doing this is because I just want the dates to look pretty like this in the format that I choose, in my case British English, but if I wanted US English, I think it's like this. So if you look at this, it's 21/8/2009. Now it will say in the other way around the format of the dates. So that's just me controlling that so we can see the information. Okay. Next up, I tell number of records, because the thing about events is you can have a lot of different events, but they are coming from different sources. And in total, you might only want, in my case, 250, but some of them would be this source and others will be this source. But in order to know that it's not all of them are of this type and none of them are of this type, I need to take out my number in all the sources as potential being every one of them, and then I filter them down in the outermost SQL which is in here. And I do that in order to be sure that I get that. This has a drawback, of course, of me drawing much more data than needed, or at least processing much more data than needed, and but it all happens server side, so it shouldn't be a big problem. And then I put in a future cutoff point. That just means that I don't really care about some activities you have planned for in the next 3 years, or some contract expiring in 2025 or anything. I could show them. I could just get rid of this constraint I put in. But in my case, I've set only things that are up to 1 month in the future I will actually show. And I use that in down here, where I actually go in and get rid of everything that is that only things lower than the future cutoff point should be included. And then I do some SQLs. So you can see this SQL is essentially self-contained. Yes, it used some of the parameters up here, but if I took these parameters, made a new one, and took this one inside here and moved it over, it would be able to run, and I would show all the opportunity starts that C20,000 have. So they don't have 250, but that could be up to 250. And essentially, I'm just taking values out of the database. I'm saying give it where it's the right business partner code, and given it's not up to 30 days into the future. So if you put something in that in 2022 you need to make this opportunity, we don't really care right now, but 30 days from that point it might begin to be relevant. If you want 2 months in advance, you could take 2 months in advance. Then I put in my event, so that's just a name. If you want it in different languages, you just need to go in and write different language. Then we need the object type. Some of them, the tables have the object type themselves. Others, we need to go into the SDK help and see what the object type is. Then we need the primary key. We need the date, and we need the number. And finally, we need some kind of details. And in my case, I'm just building up that the name with the name, the potential value, using format to show the values with my format I would like, and so on and so forth. And I'm doing this one time here, and then I do a union all and do it with one more. And essentially in the big one, I'm doing that 59 times with all kinds of different things that we want to show. And I will go through them at the end. And that's the reason why the SQL is so big. It's not because it's overly complicated. It's just because there's so much different sources. But then I have this big list of things, and I take them as a subtable. Essentially, I'm just saying from that data set and call it data. And then I take out the different things here. So because among all this, and I of course need to take the date, which is here. In my case, it's open date for the start date here. But hit down here when it's the predicted close date, it's the predicted close date. So among all these, I need to sort them by date once I have all the data in one big list. And then I essentially sort it by object type and primary key just to have some secondary sorting. And yes, it's more difficult to see here, but at the end, we have that end of the data putting in. So all this is one big temporary table it's making on the fly using the union alls. And then I do a little more here because human nature is easier to understand what today is, tomorrow is, and so on. So 5 days between today and in the future and in the past, I show as 5 days ago, 4 days ago, and so on. Else I'm just showing as the date. If you don't like this and if you want to sort the dates, get rid of this, but I like it a fair bit. And if I put in my C20,000, we can see that I get 250 rows. And that's because, yes, every one of these gives more. So if I actually went in here and said like this, I would actually get 1,615 things that have happened in this with this customer, and I could show all of them. But I tend to have the idea that people can't have a look at so much data anyway. So I've chosen 250 as a max visual cutoff point. But you can put in more if you want to. And again, the 250 I'm showing right now is the most recent ones. So there is none of the very, very old here. While if I go in and choose and put a big number here, it would go all the way back to 2005 in this case. So that's just a matter of opinion, what you would like the system to do. In my case, I want it here, and I put it up as a declare variable, so it's easy for me to say, okay, the customer only wants to see 50, then let's make it 50. Oh, they want to have 500, let's make it 500. So that's just the power of SQL. If this is possible in HANA or not, it might not be, but else you just need to put them in one by one in all the different top cases here. So that's the SQL. So if we have a look in here, it's just the same SQL. The only thing is that it's not hard-coded with C20,000 here. It's just the same. And as we have a look at them, when we move along, we can see the different events being here. And the thing about the overdue part is simply just, if we go in and have a look at one of the overdues, here we have it. I'm just checking the doc due date, in this case where it's when the quotation ends. And if that date is lower than today, it's overdue. Else, I just write it as your quotation validity end. So that's a SQL. Let's quickly go through the different things that can be shown. So it will show all opportunities that started. It will also show predicted when they are predicted to be closed, meaning that the same opportunity will be shown multiple times because there have been multiple events on them. One of the events was you started that opportunity, but another event is also that you are predicting to close it by another date than the start date. But of course, predicted close should only be shown on open opportunities. So there's a bit of logic with each one of them in that regards, but it is fairly simple logic what's going on. Anyone can write this, and it's just hard work to make all of them, and that's the reason why I'm giving this to you. So opportunities lost is just all the lost opportunities and that day where they were closed, because that's the day you lost them. Won opportunities, and then we come to blanket agreements. That's both for sales and purchase, whenever they were signed and whenever they are ending. Then there's sales and purchase whenever they are terminated. So if you terminate them early, it will also show that. Quotation created and when they are due or validity ends. Same for order and due, delivery and due, return request and due. This means that this will only work on 9.3 or higher. If you don't have 9.3, you need to get rid of the return request because these tables simply don't exist in 9.2, but else it will work. Return and due, down payment and due, invoice and due, credit memo and due. And in the same manner, all the purchase documents. So you can see we can easily get to 59 different things when we have this many different objects. And of course, you can go in and say the details. You want some other details than I put in. You have a special UDF, you have something that is more important, the owner might be important to you, then you can go in and set those in. This is just open-ended, and I will show you how I'll export it to you afterwards. So after we have all the purchase documents, we have activities when they are created, when they are started, when they have their reminder, incoming payments and outgoing payments, production orders ordered, so only the ones that are linked to a business partner, but they will be shown. When they start, when they are due, then we have service calls, when they are created, when they are closed, and when you have a contract on them, when is the response breached, when the resolution is breached. Then we have service contracts when they're created. This is ending. When they're terminated, if you do that prior to the normal ending date. Then we have the management projects when they start, when a stage starts, when a project is ending, or when a stage is ending, or when a stage is finished, or when a project is due. And that's the 59 I found. I simply went in here, went to the system and figured out all the different places where I felt it made sense and you had a business partner card code. You could put more events in. You could have put events from other add-ons. We could have recurring invoices from B1UP. Could be different things from BS, Protomex, other add-ons. It's just SQL. And it's a fairly long SQL, so I don't want you to write this all yourself. So what I will do is I will export it here. And I will export it to my desktop. Oops. Let's go here. And let's find this B1UP timeline. Export it. So what essentially you would need to do when you are in a system, you will take that file. I will link it next to this video. You will go to Universal Function, say import, find the file, and import it as a new configuration. In my case, I already have it. Once you have it in, you will go in to the business partner, say right click. Let me actually make a second one by doing the import. So let's do it here. So I will just import as a new configuration. We will export it or import it. Now it's UF32. We will go in, say create new tab, SQL Report Tab. This screen will probably be empty, so you say add. Oops, wrong button. You will say add. You will choose your universal function. So the 2 here. You will put in where you want it. If you put a low value, it will go early in the tabs. If you put a high value, it will go late in the tabs. You will say OK. You will say add or update depending on if you have an item placement tool configuration, and you have to set up. So that's all I have for you today. Again, this in my mind gives a huge benefit for people who are working with the business partner and want to have a quick overview of what have happened recently. Oh, they had some invoices that were due. Their blanket agreement ended. I should probably renew that. There was a deadline resolution that happens in 2 days. We need to remember to take care of that. Blanket agreements, contracts terminated, and so on and so forth. Again, I have a ton of data here. Some customers will have only invoices, some of them will have only service calls, all depending on how much you do with the system. But the SQL will take care of all of it, and you can put more events in as you go along. So again, let me know in the comments if you want more events, if you want this to HANA. If enough people ask for it, I will make it. It will take some while, but you can also just take my SQL and slowly turn it into the HANA version. The casing is correct of all the fields. It's just putting in the quotes and taking care of the special things MSSQL is doing and turn them into the HANA version. It should be doable. So with that, thank you for attending this sample. Hope you will like it, hope you'll try it out, hope you use it for demos, because it's damn cool that it's very easy to see all the information from a business partner in this manner and be able to drill down and see even more. So, thank you. Have a nice day.